Good morning, everyone. Come on in and have a seat. My name is Emmy, and I've got some ice cold tea for you on this Blake Lively never ending lawsuit. How is everybody doing this morning? Today, we're going to be covering, I'm so sorry, the 30-point list. And we will be going over numbers 7, 8, and 11. And before we get started into that, I just wanted to point out what a coincidence it is that if you take a look at Blake Lively's disclosures, you'll see that not only her personal trainer, but also Claire Ayub share the same attorney. Dan Saladino, trainer, the same person that Justin Baldoni asked about Blake Lively's weight. That same trainer who Blake says the alleged or the parties' alleged conduct, complaints, or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set of the film and the publicity surrounding the film. I'm not sure why she would say publicity if it's just her trainer, but whatever. But also, Claire Ayub is also represented by the same Sean Hecker, this firm in New York. And in this disclosure, it says the parties' conduct in connection with Wayfair Studios LLC projects other than It Ends With Us, the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively. So I just thought that was curious. That they share the same lawyer. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. I don't think that it means like collusion or guilt or whatever. But I just thought it was interesting. What I also thought was interesting as well is when you search for Michael Gottlieb's name, there's a few people who are represented by him in these disclosures. Molly Caro, Miss Lively's assistant, is represented by Michael Gottlieb. Now, remember, the assistant was present for the supposed pornography image. In the disclosure, Miss Lively says the parties' alleged conduct, the extremely discriminating, harassing, and other inappropriate or unwelcome actions, conduct, or comments made during production, excuse me, of the film, complaints or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set of the film, the production, editing, cut, and creative process associated with the film, efforts taken to market or promote the film, publicity surrounding the film, the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively, and resulting damages suffered. Who else is represented by Michael Gottlieb? Robin Lively, Miss Lively's sister and cast member. It Ends With Us. The party's alleged conduct, the actually discriminating, harassing, and other inappropriate or unwelcome actions, conduct, or comments made during production of the film, complaints or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set of the film, the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively, and resulting damages suffered. Also in there is Miss Lively's mom, another sister, and it looks like another assistant. Not that that's shady or anything, just pointing out something interesting. And I do believe we are missing a sister off of this disclosure, I did look into the other sister. The other sister is also an actress, but I guess she just wasn't listed in the disclosures, which is fine. But we're going to look at number 7 of the 30-point list. And for context, I'll read a couple paragraphs from the original complaint. As discussed in detail below, Ms. Lively was forced to address concerns about Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's misconduct with them directly, and began doing so months before filming began. The concerns she raised were not only for herself, but for the other female cast and crew, some of whom had already, some of whom had also spoken up. The January 4 meeting occurred only after Wayfair had rebuffed Ms. Lively's efforts repeatedly. During the January 4 meeting, the parties discussed in detail the inappropriate conduct that Ms. Lively and her employees and other cast and crew experienced at the hands of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath. After the list below was reviewed and discussed in its entirety, all parties present agreed that the outlined conduct would cease. We're taking a look at number 7. No more inquiries by Mr. Baldoni to BL trainer without her knowledge or consent to disclose her weight. We'll also take a look at number 8. No more mention of Mr. Baldoni of him speaking to BL's dead father. And then we'll be taking a look at number 11. An intimacy an intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when BL is on set in scenes with Mr. Baldoni, which also ties into 12. No more, well, we'll cover 12 a little bit later. But 14, BL to have a representative on set at all times and with the monitor during scenes involving nudity, sexual activity, and violence with Mr. Baldoni. And then we'll take a look at 18. An intimacy coordinator must be on set for all scenes involving nudity and or emulated X and must have a monitor to ensure compliance. And then it also ties into engagement of a BL-approved A-list stunt double to perform Lily in scenes with Mr. Baldoni involving ape and or violence. BL to perform only close-up work or work from a BL pre-approved shot list in scenes with Mr. Baldoni, including sexual violence. So, the weight. We'll start off with the weight first because that's pretty interesting because it also ties into the personal trainer and a little bit of the smear campaign. So, April 22nd, in preparation for a lift scene in which Baldoni's character Weil would lift Lively's character Lily, Baldoni reached out to his personal trainer, a close friend of Lively's, who's also Lively's personal trainer per this disclosure, to ask what Lively weighed so that he could train his back muscles for the scene. This was important to avoid injury, not only to Baldoni, who has suffered from lifelong back injuries, multiple bulging discs, and chronic pain, but also to Lively, and the lift could not be completed successfully and safely. Script pages of the lift scene are included below. Lively would later claim in her complaint that this scene did not exist. However, as evidenced by the script pages, and also a video in which Baldoni is rehearsing the scene with a body double, the scene was very real. So, obviously we know that Justin was pretty much set up at the penthouse and being accused of being of fat shaming Blake, right? We know that. And we also know that per Jamie Heat's timeline, Hugh Jackman and Taylor Swift were there, right? Now, I Googled, because I remember when this rumor came out, I Googled fat shame, and what I got was a TMZ article from 8/14/2024. So this is about what, a week after the premiere, right? And this, remember this date, 8/14/2024. We have the headline or the sub-headline, Blake Lively felt Justin Baldoni fat shamed her, kissed too long during scene. And it's an exclusive. It was updated August 14, 2024, 3:26 p.m. Just trying to be transparent with you. The article reads, Blake Lively has told people there were multiple reasons Justin Baldoni made her feel uncomfortable on the set of his Ends With Us, TMZ has learned. So that is true. What we've learned is Blake Lively told multiple people, right, including her friends at the Traveling Pants re-premiere, relaunch, or reboot. Remember, in between phase 1 and phase 2, she had that premiere with her friends. Right after the 17-point agreement was drafted and sent off to Wayfair, I may add. I'll continue reading this TMZ article. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ there was a scene in which Justin lifts Blake into the air. According to our sources, Justin has a history of back problems, and before lifting Blake, he went He went to his on-set trainer and asked how much she weighed and how could he train to protect his back from injury. Blake later found out about Justin's comment and felt he fat shamed her. We're told the comment really bothered Blake, who gave birth to her and husband Ryan Reynolds' fourth child in February 2023. Our sources tell us the second incident that allegedly made Blake uncomfortable on set is when the two engaged in a kissing scene and Blake felt he lingered longer than he should have with the kiss. We broke the story. Cast and crew agree there's definitely bad blood between the Ends With Us co-stars, but sources told us Justin's not the clear-cut villain, as some people worked on the film are standing by him. Some sources we spoke to also claim some cast members are milking the drama to market the film. That may be true as well, and who do you think might be doing that? We reached out to reps for Justin and Blake's reps for comment. So far, no word back. So that was 8/14, right? And then if you take a look at Exhibit 191, you see a text thread between Justin Baldoni and it looks like Jen Abel, dated 8/13/353. Melissa Nathan, completely unsolicited story from TMZ. Blake has a huge ego. JB was liked by many cast and crew, and this is her ego being bruised, etc. And then this is Jen Abel, liked, completely unsolicited story from TMZ. And then she also says the post has a similar tip, not from any of us, and then OBV. And then Melissa Nathan says, totally not from us. So Justin Baldoni's camp is silent on this, but somehow someone knew about the fat shaming in the lift scene and how Blake felt. So was that Leslie Sloan? Was that Blake? Who was that? Who would have known that about the fat shaming? And then Melissa Nathan says, the reporter told me her rep is working overtime. So that story was planted by somebody. And what I think is unfortunate is that this 30-point list, as I'm reading it to you, is also in the CRD complaint that Ezra Hudson filed, with the little stamp on it that says confidential. Huh. Oh, that's the form that's revised. I thought the complaint was revised, but it was the form that was revised. I'm just taking a look at it again. But yeah, the stamp says confidential on it. But anyway, more of these text messages include text messages between Justin Baldoni, Melissa, and Jennifer Abel, where Justin says on 8/14/12/52. Okay, so this is hours before that TMZ article came out, right? And a day after that text message where they acknowledge that they're not sharing stories. Justin says, just woke up, texting Jennifer. With all the texts, I'm getting worried about me. I imagine the truce didn't last. And then Jennifer Abel says, the truce is still on. Oh, the truce is still on. But this is what we knew would start to happen. More and more people from production, from the crew, people with knowledge are speaking to media in your defense. And while their intentions are good and they want to support you and defend you, it's adding more narrative and giving this life. There was someone who called TMZ to support you and say how much you are liked and how ridiculous Blake's claims are, but in turn shared that you had asked the trainer how much she weighed because you wanted to train to lift her, and also that she was making a big deal about an on-set kiss that lingered. We balanced it and provided context that you're worried about your back, etc. And the article, minus the clickbait headline, is very much in your favor. So that's the new news cycle today. It's not Leslie, it's not Blake's team, because it actually makes her out to be worse. So they're acknowledging in this that, it's not Leslie, I guess. It's just someone on their side. And that's me reading that for the first time. I did not know that, because I was actually reading down below where it says, who could have known that? Please make sure they know at TMZ it was my trainer too. We shared a trainer per her suggestion. So maybe she was also planting people with Justin Baldoni to feed her information to be used against him later. What do you think? Do you think the trainer was a spy or a mole? Jennifer Abel says, a lot of people, this has been over a year, and yes, it was your on-set trainer, not her trainer. And then this is where Justin says, but he was a damn spy. If it becomes a thing, we can say my hospital infection was due to me getting stem cells in my herniated disc in my back because I was in so much discomfort. And you can point to my IG post from stem cell results, and I'm going back to get it done for my herniated discs in my back. And then this one says, whoa, that text message is weird. Says 100, but already included your history of back issues and the conservative training so you wouldn't hurt your back. The position is there and good. The texts you are getting are likely because friends are wanting to come to your defense and support you, which is good. You have a really wonderful supportive group around you. And then Justin says AAIA. I'm not sure what that means. Tag liked 100%, but TMZ already included your history of back. And then Justin sends some sort of attachment. And then Jennifer Abel says, adore Illy or something like that. ILIL, and knowing he's coming from a good place and sharing his opinion. So this is just going back and forth about other people coming to his defense, and they are talking about how some of the stuff is becoming news, and it's not them. And then they found out about the kiss lingering too long, or Justin did, and he says, wow. And so it's saying, I agree. It's just their spin to get me to look bad because there isn't anything substantial to look bad. And he's saying this about TMZ. So, and then Justin Baldoni is commenting again, where the Blake Lively Ryan Reynolds hire Harvey Weinstein backed crisis PR forum headline. So they're just going back and forth. I didn't realize, and I was going to look at what this was attached to too, because I just did a quick Google search on this. So yeah, I'll read the rest of this a little bit later. But anyways, as I was getting back to it, so the weight thing, it's also a secondhand thing, but I also do think that Blake Lively planted a spy or mole to set Justin Baldoni up for some things. We'll get to number 8, which is no more mention by Mr. Baldoni of him speaking to BL dead father. So this actually gets more of a context, and I'm glad that they addressed this because I thought this was very strange. I was like, he's talking, like, what is he doing? Does he get like an Ouija board or something? And he's like talking to Blake's dad, and they're doing like seances or something. Like, I thought in my head, that's what it sounded like he was trying to conjure up something. But if you take a look at the timeline that Jamie Heath put out, somewhere between April 26th and May 1st, 2023, it is noted that Justin makes comments about praying for BL's father. And then it says BL later included this as one of the infractions in her all hands meeting before phase 2. So it gives a little bit more context. She totally twisted that. which is incredibly unfortunate because it sounds like it was very sensitive time and Justin was trying to be very empathetic and supportive of Blake, and she just kind of stomped all over him. And then I was going to get to 11. An intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when BL is on set in scenes with Mr. Baldoni. I'll repeat this again because this is in her CRD complaint. An intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when BL is on set in scenes with Mr. Baldoni. It doesn't say nudity or actual activity or whatever scenes, X scenes. It says at all times. Does anybody think that's interesting? And in her complaint in paragraph 46, it says Wayfair failed to adhere to guild rules as well as Miss Lively's contract and standard industry safety protocols with respect to nudity and intimate scenes, with the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists acknowledges placed performers in uniquely vulnerable situations. Such safeguards ignored by Wayfair include providing performers with appropriate notice of nudity and emulated X, and ensuring that consent is given free of pressure or coercion. Signed, nudity riders are in place, spelling out the parameters of nudity or simulated X scenes. Safe and secure working conditions that are not detrimental to performers' health, safety, morals, and career. The use of intimacy quarters to observe intimate scenes. But her complaint and what she says she discussed was that she wanted an intimacy quarter that must be present at all times when BL is on set with scenes with Baldoni. It doesn't even matter what they were. And she also acknowledges it in her disclosures, but also this is also in Jimmy Heath's timeline, where Lizzie Talbot, the intimacy coordinator during phase 1, who Blake declined to meet with prior to production. Lizzie Talbot, who is considered the original founder and intimacy coordinator who started intimacy coordination in 2015. So it's a fairly new practice. It's only been around for 7 years. And during phase 2, it was Chelsea Carey. And in Blake's disclosure, Lizzie Talbot is supposed to have information about the party's alleged conduct, the extra discriminating, harassing, and other inappropriate or unwelcome actions, conduct, or comments made during production of the film. Complaints or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set of the film, the production, editing, cut, and creative process associated with the film. I don't know why the editing is in there. But then Chelsea Carey on phase 2 says the similar thing. Almost, it's the exact same thing. Alleged conduct, discriminating, harassing, inappropriate or unwelcome actions. But really, isn't that kind of contradictory to what she said in her complaint on how there was no problems in phase 2? But anyways, I just thought that was interesting. And also, Blake Lively, in her interview, in one of her interviews with Colleen Hoover and Brendan Sklar, the interviewer brings up, oh, Blake, you are also acting as an intimacy coordinator. And she gets kind of called out. And Colleen Hoover says, yeah, I saw that on Instagram. And then Brendan Sklar says a similar thing. And she kind of was like, oh, ha, 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 where did you see that? We did have an intimacy coordinator. And then if you look at another interview from Justin Baldoni, he mentions the entire process that they were doing with their intimate scenes. They were talking it out. They were choreographed. There was an intimacy coordinator there. So this is going to be definitely, if it makes it to trial, which I think the Wayfair parties are determined to make it to trial. And I also think that maybe Blake Lively is trying to get a way to settle because the legal bills are piling up. There's multiple legal bills that Ryan is facing, but those are with his other companies. But Maximum Effort might be, and I need to bring this up. We'll bring this up in another video. I'll bring it up tomorrow. But Maximum Effort is tied to all this because not only are they in the disclosures, but they're definitely in the timeline of Jamie Heath. Why? We'll take a closer look at that. Tomorrow, we will cover the birth scene and the context around the birthing video or the post-birth video, along with the reason why there is no sequel. And we'll go over some of Colleen Hoover's text to kind of support that 10 crown theory. I'm just going to check in with the chat because I know I kind of ignored you guys, and I'm sorry about that. So what does everybody think? What does everybody think, particularly about number 11, where basically Blake is not allowed to be alone with Justin Baldoni at any time? Does anybody think that's interesting or relevant? Maybe a little bit creepy? I think it's a little bit creepy. At all times, when there's times when they're not even needed. Does that say Ryan Reynolds, or does that just say Blake doesn't want to be around Justin? And where did the linger too long? Where did that comment come from? Because there was nothing leaking during phase 1 when all of this was supposedly going on. But surprisingly, it's leaking on 8/14, a week after all of the backlash that Blake Lively was receiving. Anyways, like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I will see you tomorrow, and we'll cover some of the birth video and the context around that. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, house guests.